Hi, Clint Coons here at Anderson Business Advisors, and in this segment, I am going to discuss flipping real estate. Okay, so if you're looking to get started in flipping real estate, consider this. You don't want to be a dealer in real estate. And what that means is there are negative tax ramifications that come from being a dealer. And I'm not going to go into that way. If you want to learn more about that, you can either watch some of our other videos on flipping real estate that deal with it from a tax perspective. But in this one, I'm going to discuss how you want to set it up so you can avoid dealer status. Because personally, if you're tagged as a dealer, believe me, it is going to be something that is going to stick with you, and it will impair your ability to move forwards with your real estate investing on the investment side to generate decent returns from those types of investments. So you do not want cross-contamination from dealer property, which is the buying of property with the intent to sell, versus investment property, which is buying property with the intent to hold it long term. So how do we isolate out your dealer property? That is those flips that you'll be engaging in from your other activities. The best way to do this is to have an entity set up here. This entity that we'll set up is going to be a corporation. I would set up a corporation for this activity. Now, whether or not that's going to be a C or an S corporation for tax purposes, we're not going to cover that now, but just keep in mind that you're going to want this corporation here. From a tax standpoint, that's going to be a one-on-one conversation. You want to work with one of our strategists to determine what's best for you given A, what your current tax situation is, B, what you're looking to do going forwards, whether or not you're looking to deal with traditional lenders and you want to have access to capital. You may want to go with a certain type of corporation over the other to make yourself look a little better to those underwriters. So the corporation is the engine behind the flipping strategy, and its purpose primarily is going to be for you is to eliminate dealer status on the personal level. Okay, so that's one of the main benefits of setting this up. We want to eliminate dealer status to Clint. Clint's always going to be an investor, not a dealer. Now, I'm down here as a shareholder in my corporation, and I'm also up here as an officer and director. So let me be president, and I'm a director of this company. So now you might be thinking, all right, well, that's simple, Clint. I'll just set up a corporation and I'll start flipping property in my corporation. That means I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find a house, and I'm going to buy a house in the name of my corporation, and then I'm going to sell it. And then I'm going to do another one like that. Or maybe I have two going on at once that I'll be running through that corporation. So that's simple. Well, here's the problem with that strategy. And that comes down to understanding that if this is your entity that you're setting up for your flipping, it's also the entity that the public will know you as, because you're going to invest in marketing to find deals. So you don't want that entity to actually own title to the property, because that's going to bring back liability there. Because every property that you bring into here brings its own set of problems potentially with you. So if somebody wanted to sue, say a buyer of your property right here wanted to bring a claim against you later on. Let's say I sold this house to this individual right here, and they don't like something about the deal that you made with them. You didn't disclose something, so they sue the corporation. Well, gosh, if you've got this deal going on inside of there, you see the problem? Now that deal could be subject to the claims of this particular buyer who has a potential claim against this company. So for that reason, when you're flipping property, what we'll do is we'll isolate out the activity. That is, we're not going to run the flips in the name of the corporation for this risk. We're going to want to instead utilize some limited liability companies that we'll set up here for our real estate acquisitions. So we'll use LLCs up here to buy the properties. All right, like that, and have the LLCs owned by the corporation. Now, the key here in doing the LLC to take title, I mean, you can make your offers in the name of the corporation, but close in the name of the LLC, or do the rehab work in the name of the LLC. The key here is that when you sell the property, you're selling it from this limited liability company right here. So if something goes wrong on this particular transaction, the seller wants to bring a claim, Well, you've sold that property, so there's nothing there any longer for them to go after in that LLC because it's an empty shell once you've got rid of the property. So what our clients will do is they'll dissolve out the LLC after the deal is done. And so then that leaves a seller over here with a house. And let's say they have this frivolous claim, or they went to an attorney. The attorney said, oh, sure, we can squeeze some more money out of this deal for you. Well, the first thing they're going to do is look for the entity that sold them the property. Well, if that entity is no longer in existence, I mean, that is a huge deterrent right there, because what does it tell them? You're no longer in business, and they might figure you've gone bankrupt. And we know how that works, that when you sue people that are no longer in business, there's no recovery oftentimes. So we're creating this perception that my business was there, I did a deal, and now it's out of business. So using the LLCs in this manner, you're able to set them up and then dissolve them as you sell your properties going forward. So there'll be several LLCs involved in this. Depending on where you're doing your business, you may want to set up these LLCs either in Wyoming or the state where the property is located. Those are questions you would have with a strategist within our firm, because there are some benefits to using a Wyoming LLC for many deals, or maybe it's got to be Nevada or Delaware depending on the situation, or it has to be your state LLC. So that's something that's beyond this video that I wouldn't have time to go into with you. And it's something you should get a consultation on for sure, a strategy session, to make sure you're setting it up right. And then as well, how that interest is going to be held. Where the ownership's going to be in the corporation, but who's going to manage it, and then talking about bank accounts as well for these individual entities. Those are all important discussions you should be having with a strategist to make sure that as you go forward with your flipping business, that you're protecting this core corporation right here from any follow-up liability from sales of real estate that you've made in the past. This is what our clients have found tremendous success with in building their real estate flipping business, providing themselves asset protection, and more importantly, putting themselves in a tax position where they have complete control over their receipt of income. My name is Clint Coons with Anderson Business Advisors, and in this segment we covered flipping real estate.